Hello all you JRPG fans, this is King Link and this is my last look and review of Tales of Berseria. Before we begin, if you enjoy this review, consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers to get a unique channel URL from YouTube, and I appreciate your assistance always. In addition, this is my final video for Humble Monthly Bundle of September 2018. If you're interested in it, I also have a video review of Staxel and Sniper Elite on this channel. Check them out. In addition, that means this game and Staxel and Sniper Elite are all available for 12 bucks on Humble Bundle, so if you want to check out this game, that's a great way to do it. So, with that said, I'm showing a video from about 2 hours in the game. There's been a major moment before this, which I won't go into because I want to avoid spoilers. However, our main character, Velvet here, has seen some shit, to put it nicely. And we're finally on the main story path of the game. In addition, if this video runs long enough, and it probably won't, but I'll show some gameplay from about 15 hours into the game, just to show a little more advanced battle system. I am going to gloss over much of the game to avoid a full 30-minute video, including characters and party members. If you want to know more, check the written review in the description. And with that said, here we go. So, Tales of Berseria actually has a great story. It starts off feeling like Velvet, the main hero here, is an anti-hero. She's a Daemon with an A as the game calls her, or a demon as it pronounces it. She's out for revenge against a holy figure that I won't name here, and I'm going to try to avoid most of those spoilers, but it's a bit obvious if you play a little bit, and it happens right before this. So, it's just an evil character getting revenge, right? Well, the fact is this game has a very long and interesting story. It talks more than just who is right and who is wrong, but differences between reason and emotion at times, and looks at Velvet as more than just a villainess or a hero. In fact, I can make a valid claim that there's no villain in this game, and I like that. And Velvet herself never is heroic, never acts like, oh, I'm altruistic or anything. She has her motivations and it drives her, and that's a good thing. That's what I actually like about the character. There is, of course, the big bad final enemy, but I can make a case that, from his view, he's doing the right thing. And I have to be honest, there's an interesting case to be made for that. And it's something that most games fail to address, that the villain's motivation should make sense as it does here. You know, there's always the guy who's, I'm going to go destroy the world. But unless that guy has a solid motivation about why he wants to destroy the world, and not just, I'm evil, wahaha, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The good news, though, is Tales of Berseria ignores that and actually develops both the villain and the hero, or the hero and the villain, depending on which viewpoint you want to use. Overall, though, the story here is great, and coming from Zestiria, Tales of Berseria, the previous game, this game does a lot better with its story. In fact, it's a prequel to Zestiria, as well as coming out 18 months after Zestiria, and it greatly improves on Zestiria in almost every way. I found Zestiria to be quite flawed, and somehow this game nails the feeling and gameplay as it should be, took those 18 months, which seems incredibly short for how long this game is, and really developed a better game and a better system on top of it. So of course the storytelling develops the world, but at the same time the player still has to walk through it, and this is one of the problem areas of Tales of Berseria. The biggest problem for me is that most of the areas in this game are rather dull. I'm in a dungeon here, and the thing is, it just kind of looks like all the other dungeons that are in buildings. There's some cave dungeons as well, and all the cave dungeons feel the same. When you're in the overworld, you kind of get the mountainous areas, the hilly areas, and the field areas, but they all just kind of blend together. The fact is, there's not that much uniqueness to the areas that you're in. There is, of course, the towns, and the towns feel good most of the time. But half of the towns are generic port towns. They blend together, and there are good locations, but they're infrequent. My favorite is the capital city of Logres, I think it was, but that's the one out of all of them. Now, the game does look good in cutscenes. There is anime cutscenes as well. There's some really great looks to it, but that's going to be heavily scripted moments. When you're just generically walking around, you're generically walking around. At the same time, there's also a lot of backtracking in this game, and it's a bit too much. The game realizes this and addresses it about 75% of the way through the game, but that's 45 hours for me into the game, and at that point, the backtracking had me groaning each time. Oftentimes, you would backtrack to a town you'd been to, see a single cutscene, then go back the way you came to another town that you'd been to, and see another cutscene. Now, when they fix the backtracking, they do it by giving you a hoverboard that removes battles that are less than 10 levels below you, or more than 10 levels below you. But that hoverboard comes too late, and honestly, that's a flaw of the game. So, the battle system that you're seeing here is a bit stiff, and it's because it's at the beginning of the game. The fact is the game hasn't given a lot of abilities and taught the battle system to the player, and it will come over time. In fact, the game keeps teaching it to about the 20 to 30 hour mark. It's also kind of based on a 1v1 fight, where Velvet, our main character, is fighting the enemies. She doesn't even have a special power yet. In the second part, assuming that we'll get there, you get to see a more fluid battle system, and that's where the battle system hits its stride. You'll have the ability to change characters, slaughter enemies with ease, bosses have interesting fights, and they'll be a little bit harder, but as long as you keep your soul gauge up, which allows you to use your special attacks and count how many attacks you can chain, you'll have an easy time. You also get those special attacks and even mystic arts. It's all much better later, unfortunately. I don't want to show too far in, so I don't show certain characters. However, I will try to show it at the end. Now, the battle system here, though, is really solid, and it made the game enjoyable. I actually found out at the end of the game that I had probably been fighting too many enemies that were far below my level for the small rewards they'll give me, which wasn't even enough to really spend the time. And yet, I don't hate the system. I actually enjoy the fighting quite a bit. Though I will say near the end, it did wear on me, but that was because I had already spent like 70 hours with that same battle system. So, what kept me engaged with the battle system, though, is that there's a grade system on top of it, like in most of these Tales series. That's a normal grade system that will give you the bonus at the end of the game for your next playthrough, assuming you want to play a 40-hour game a second time. But in this game, the grade also will give you points to leveling up your equipment, which adds one of your equipment's master skills to your character permanently. It's actually a way to power up your character outside of the normal old level up system, which the game still employs. However, I enjoyed this equipment system, and I was chasing those grade points all throughout the game because it was giving me more power. In addition, there's actually a lot of other systems at work here. The good news is the battle system is simplified and streamlined compared to Berseria. The bad news for completionists and collectors, there's so much more in this game. There's of course these skits that are all throughout the Tales series, and this time around, even though it has better story, the skits are also really well done and really add a lot to the story. I enjoyed watching almost every skit, and I had seen 400 of them by the end of this game. Now that's a lot, but there were probably only about 10 of them that I would say were really a waste. In addition, there's mini games galore here. There's a rather simplistic fishing game, but there's also a fantastic card game which is about matching sets based on characters in the Tales series. 2 battle arena mini games to test your skills or rank your fighters. In addition, there's also a expedition system which allows you to go scout far off lands for extra food, and all of these things work at any time you want to go into them, usually in towns. When you're walking around the maps, there's still more to do there. There's going to be the little spirit balls, which I'll talk about in a second. There's also herbs, which are used to increase your stat points for one of your characters, and that will actually grow back, though honestly it doesn't grow back that fast. And then there's also a normal chests and the special chests that have equipment in it that the game makes you want to find so that you'll keep searching and exploring the maps. In addition, there's now a CATZ, K-A-T-Z, chest, and those are what you collect the spirits for. And they each require a certain amount of spirits, but every 2 CATZ chests you open, give you an accessory that you can use to change the look of your character. Honestly, I didn't play much with the accessories, but I still opened up every cat's chest I could for no reason other than wanting to help them out or watching the little cutscene of them popping out of it. It's just a little extra thing that I felt like I wanted to do. Now, if you are going to go and try to collect everything in this game or be a completionist and get every single piece of this game, you're almost definitely going to need 2, maybe even 3 playthroughs to get everything. Or maybe you should obsessively follow a guide so that you know everything that you can go and collect in one playthrough. If you're a collector, though, expect at least 100 hours spent in this game. The thing is, though, even though I really liked the story, I kept getting sidetracked because there's so much I wanted to do, and everything was fun. I listened to every side story I could, or every discussion in the game I could find. I opened each chest and explored for them, collected everything I could, and went after even the dire foes and the code red beasts, 2 systems that they have in the game. Each of them are special monsters that come at certain points, and they produce slightly harder fights. They're not too hard in my opinion. The story, though, is really good, but the side quests were interesting enough that I kept trying to finish them as well. So again, I don't want to go on too long here, and I'm sure I already have, but at the end of the day, I played about 70 hours in this game. My Steam account says more. I don't know why exactly. I looked at the counter at the playtime in-game, and it said 70 hours. So I don't know about the discrepancy, but whatever. However, those 70 hours are definitely a quantity over quality, and there's some flaws here. I'll just quickly tick off a few that really stand out to me. First off, this is a JRPG. If you don't like them, or don't like the Tales series, this isn't for you. It's not going to change your opinion. It's also a heavy story game. You're probably watching or spending about 20 hours looking at the story and all, and there's not a ton of action. Again, if you want an action-heavy game, skip this. There's also a bit of filler too. Not a ton, but I could probably shave maybe 5 to 10 hours off the length of this game with a few necessary cuts, because the game has you do stuff that just isn't that necessary. So, overall, this is a quantity over quality, like I said, and it is, but there's still good quality here. I like Tales of Berseria a lot, and it's a reason I played the full 70 hours that I did, instead of playing just 35 to 40 and calling it a day or skipping the side stories and cutscenes to get through faster. The game is good enough to spend 70 hours with, and that's what I wanted. So for a score, there's some problems here, but I give this game a 4 out of 5. If you're a fan of JRPGs or the Tales series, this is a must-play. If Tales of Berseria disappointed you, and honestly it disappointed me, even though I gave it a weak recommendation due to the amount of length and gameplay there is in there, you might want to check out Berseria. It's a lot better in almost every way. And ultimately, I feel like this is a great addition to my collection. If you want a long game or just adore JRPGs, check it out. If you want to know more though, or deeper information, check the written review in the description. So that's Tales of Berseria. I'll try to post a wrap-up of the entire Humble Bundle for September 2018 on my site, and finally I can go back and play some games I choose to. Yakuza 0 is still coming, that's one of the main games I want to get done, but I also just finished Exapunks earlier today as well, and have to talk about that one. I'm a fan of Zachtronic games as a warning, so get ready for another discussion of programming. Coming up next, or maybe not, I'm fickle. Either way, I'm King Link, and I am out of here.